And we're underway. Fnatic and Team Liquid, best of 5 Western Division Grand Finals. That final spot in Las Vegas, Caesars Palace, the site of our Grand Finals coming up in January. And each of these two teams wants to earn their way there. Fnatic leads off with a Venomancer and Weaver pick, while Liquid shows us a very early Clinks pick, and no surprise to see Visage picked up for Way Too Sexy, and we'll touch on that moving forward. And to help break down the inside and analysis, as always, welcome in once again, Ben Merlini Wu. And Ben, it's been a while since we've seen Team Liquid in action, but you know, I mentioned during the little intro, Liquid is kind of perceived as being on a bit of a downslope, and they have hit a bit of a skid as well. I mean, they're on a 4-series losing streak coming into this, but when you look at the stakes and you look at where those losses have happened, it's hard really to fault them all that much. They got 3-0 twice by Alliance. They lost 2-1 in a series to Na'Vi, and of course they lost to Fnatic 1-0 in that last meeting. But again, even though Liquid, as of late, or they actually lost to Speed Gaming as well, but at the time that was perceived perhaps as an upset, but after Speed's performance at MLG Columbus, I don't think anyone can really fault them for that loss either. So even though Liquid is coming in the eyes of most, an underdog now to Fnatic, I think it's a huge mistake to count them out just because they hit a bit of a tough stretch over the last few weeks.
I totally agree with that. And prior to MLG, I think most people would actually say Liquid has the upper hand in this heads-on matchup. And if you look at the standings for D2L, Team Liquid is actually the higher seed. So they performed better throughout the regular season, and they 2-0 Na'Vi 2, no feat. That's a pretty difficult feat to achieve in itself. So I think that odds are slightly skewed towards Fnatic. I think it's like 70-30, which I think the matchup should be a lot closer considering the history of these two teams. And I think in LAN settings, Fnatic has almost always beat out Liquid in Korea and at MLG, but online, Liquid has almost always beat out Fnatic. Right,
and Liquid is, for better or for worse, a team that does tend to overperform online and underperform offline at LANs. And that has a lot to do with experience. I mean, not to say Liquid doesn't have a lot of experience, in particular in the trio of Bulba, Fluff, and Stuff, and TC. But Koikfa, the youngster who really just got into, certainly when it got into the LAN scene over the last calendar year or so, and Way Too, I mean, he's had some experience as well. But despite that, they just always seem to underperform in a live setting, while Fnatic, I mean, this core 5 has been together and been playing together for so long, spanning multiple games even, stretching all the way back to D2L Season 1 when they made the first full transition from Heroes of Newerth to Dota. These 5 have been together, have played under so many different situations that it's just tough to count them out. And they've looked really impressive coming up through our bubble race. I mean, they did take the longest possible road. They finished in the 4th seed position, beat Virtus Pro, went on to beat Na'Vi after that in what many would consider an upset, and now just one win away from completing the Cinderella story. But really talking about Liquid coming into this, they looked so remarkably good in our group stage, and a lot of that had to do with Way Too Sexy. He played Visage, I want to say something like 8 times throughout their D2L group stage, if not even more. And every single game that he was on that hero, he was an absolute standout and really the heart and core of this Liquid squad. And we can already see a very familiar look out of Liquid based on the success they had in the group stage. Grabbing up the Beastmaster, that's most likely going to be a Bulba mid Beastmaster with Way Too on Visage. Clinks, it depends on how they want to run it. Koikfa can run the hero. I have seen him do it in the solo off lane before, or they could decide to farm him up. And Clinks is a hero who's beginning to see a little bit more play in East and West both. We're beginning to see the hero experience a bit of a resurgence.
Reserve time.
That early is pretty... I mean, I've seen them use it a fair amount of times, but picking him that early is very unusual, to say the least. And not that Clinks is that easy to counter pick, but at the same time, it does make your game plan a little bit predictable. But, I mean, if you can make it work, then why not? Typically, people have gone for the Clockwork, the Timbersaw, as their go-to offlanes. That's probably the two most popular offlaners. We've even seen Bristle seen a lot of play recently. But going for early Clinks, that's pretty interesting. It does secure their late game, though, and it is a force to reckon with if he can actually manage to get some farm. And he probably should against this lineup, even though they do have 4 range heroes, so he does have the potential to be in a 3-on-1 situation, especially against 3 range. You can't really do that much, but Clinks can actually catch back up fairly easily, and he can rotate lanes, and he can do very well in one-on-one situations too if he's managed to pair versus the Weaver. But Team Liquid has banned out the Timbersaw. I don't really think they mind a Clockwork pick too much. Visage not a great hookshot target. Klink's not too great either, just because he has so much HP. So their initiation on the side of Fnatic is going to be a little bit difficult.
Well, we're going to see a Night Stalker pick up there from Liquid. I find that to be a little bit surprising, and now their lanes are a little bit wonkier. Again, they have a lot of flexibility in who can play what. Bulba does tend to play mid for Liquid, but doesn't mean he necessarily always will. And the Liquid's one of those teams. There are a handful of teams that are like this. Fnatic kind of sort of is that way too, where they just have solo lane players. Trixie and Hani can wind up in a variety of situations based on what their laning phase looks like. And Bulba certainly has no problem giving up that mid position to Koikva. For example, we saw Koikva run a lot of Storm Spirit out of the mid, while Bulba went solo off lane in situations like that. One thing I like a lot about the way Liquid's lineup's going to match up against Fnatic, or more importantly, Klinks is going to have a lot of squishy targets. Once he gets up his Orchid, before Luna gets her BKB, and of course we'll see how quickly she wants to rush that item out, but even if she does get it up at a decent clip, the physical damage that comes out of Klinks is just absolutely massive. And he's got Venomancer and Crystal Maiden as very, very viable gank heroes. Neither have any dedicated escape mechanism, and he can melt both of them down extremely effectively. And then, as you said, in the late game, Weaver and Luna are two targets Klinks actually can do a fair amount of damage to in a variety of situations. So Liquid's certainly going to have the chance to take control of this game, especially with the Beastmaster there to try and lock down Weaver.
Yeah, looking at Fnatic's lineup and Liquid's lineup, I don't know. I kind of like Fnatic's more. One big question for me is, does TC really play that effective of a Night Stalker? Because it's most likely going to be Bulba, Beastmaster mid, right, Koikva, Klinks off lane, or solo safe lane, and then TC as the Night Stalker. And I see him more as a like a burning type player. I guess he just farms passively for the first 15-20 minutes and then starts contributing to fights. So that is the one big question mark. But I think they've used it a lot recently. I haven't seen too much of Liquid since MLG. I wasn't actually able to get a chance to watch the Liquid Alliance and the DreamHack matches, so I'm not sure how much Liquid's playstyle has changed since then. But before that, you would almost always seen a Storm Spirit on Koikva or Nature's Prophet or Lone Druid, and now they seem to switch gears.
Well, the Bane pick going to round out the front five for Team Liquid, and that's an obvious counter pick to Enigma. He's actually going to be able to help out in a variety of other fashions. Bane's excellent at popping a Lincoln Sphere, which is usually the go-to item for a Weaver against this kind of a lineup. Just being able to toss out relatively low cooldown spells like Enfeeble and like Brain Sap just to pop his Lincolns, then that frees things up to silence him out with the Night Stalker. And really that Night Stalker pick, that's kind of how I view it, is almost a direct counter pick to Weaver, just having that extended silence in nighttime to take away Weaver's mobility. Bane also going to be able to use Fiend's Grip, obviously, to take Enigma out of Black Hole channeling. Beastmaster already has his roars, so Fly's really going to be put up against it. He's going to have to make sure that when he does decide to drop the Black Hole, he does so in the right position and with the right and catches the right heroes, because there are two now that he has to account for, although chances are it's only going to be one the way it plays out. I would imagine Bane's job is going to be to sit back and wait for the Enigma Black Hole, while Bulba on the Beastmaster, as anticipated, will be the one who initiates for Liquid and pretty much every big team engagement.
Yeah, I don't particularly like the Enigma pickup. Unless they get like a huge early lead from it, they can push very easily with it. Liquid's anti-push is actually horrendous. So if Fnatic can take down 1 or 2 towers like in the first 5 minutes, I think it'll be very useful. Or even like 3 towers in the first 10, I think they'll be already be worth it for the Enigma pick. But as it stands, with 2 heroes with ultimates that go through BKB, like you said, it's not that great of a pick, and he is going to be dead meat come Klink's getting his Orchid, unless he farms a very fast Ghost Scepter. But most likely he's going to be on mech duty.
Looks like this will be an offensive tri lane coming out of Liquid, and I really like this option. And I was kind of thinking along these lines. TC, as you mentioned, is generally a more passive farmer. Running him this way, though, puts pressure on Fnatic. He'll obviously want to get whatever farm he possibly can, but I feel like, again, this is almost a utility pick more so than a direct, hey, this is a hero who fits in well and is going to be able to give us a lot of damage pick. Just having the extended silence to try to lock down the Weaver, try to deal with Fnatic and how ability reliant they are for the most part. I mean, when you look at Weaver and Luna, until Luna farms up late game items, she really is completely, almost completely ability dependent in terms of her ability to do damage. And the way they build this, I don't think we're going to see any hand of Midas out on any hero in this game. I actually expect a lot of kills to be notched in the first 20 to 25 minutes. So the horn blows and the lanes begin to take shape. Let's see who's handling who. TC, as mentioned, will be on our Night Stalker with Clinks, played by Koikve. He's going to have a lane all to himself, and it'll be a one-on-one situation for him. Bane going to be played by Fluff and stuff, with Beastmaster handled here in mid by Bulba. Hani's going to be on the Vino up against him. That's an interesting choice that we'll talk about momentarily. But way too back on Visage. This is going to be a huge bane for, or a huge boon, I should say, for Liquid, so long as way too replicates the performances he had on the hero throughout our group stage. The other side of the river, Fly going to work here on the jungle in the Enigma, and as we saw, Nahaz pop up. He actually has a remarkable win record with him since TI3. He's actually the wins leader in 6.79 by a mile. No Tail will be on our Crystal Maiden with Luna farmed up by Era. Weaver's going to be played by Trixie one-on-one against Koikva down in this off lane for him. And Hani on the Venomancer mid. Now, Venomancer mid, that's, again, it's totally viable. It's just a question of how much you can get out of it. And we've seen the best and the worst of it. Sometimes it can work if you're able to execute a game plan based on that early golden experience lead, but if you just try to stay flat through too long or too extended a period of the game, it can end up feeling a little bit like a waste.
And yeah, looking at the early game, not shaping up to be anything too exciting. Fluff and stuff trying to harass Fly, but with Enigma, it's very difficult to harass him in the jungle. And maybe with a hero like Bounty Hunter, you can like snipe some last hits, but for the most part, it's going to be very difficult. And Fnatic already with a pretty big lead in the early game. Oh, Era.
And up here in the jungle, we can hear Era taking some damage, could be in some trouble, trying to make a run for the tower. Soul Assumption's there, and Way2 draws first blood once again. And now they're not done. No Tail could be in trouble. Spins a Frostbite on TC, but Way2 once again.
Okay, Way2's Visage
is so good.
What in the world?
Good. And I'm just going to make a call. Fluff's actually given some hell to Fly. He's going to have to spend the Malefice to try and get away. Fluff's right on his tail. There's the last tick of it. He might be able to chase him down and get a kill here. This might happen. He actually stutter-stepped a little bit.
He should be a man. He has 350 move speed.
Yep.
You can do it. And Fly didn't eat a tango. If Fly had like eaten this tree as he had gone, then yeah, I wouldn't have gone for it. But if you're going, if I were in that situation, hells yeah, I would have gone for it. But it's at the T2 tower. You're what, a level 1 Bane going for a level 2.5 Enigma. That's worth it for sure.
Absolutely. And he actually stutter-stepped a little bit. I feel like he would have had an even better chance to chase him down because he stepped back, then turned, and then decided to walk away. But anyway, early on, Liquid off to a blazing start, and I believe you said it about as well as anyone could, my friend. Way2's Visage, just ban it. Like, there's no reason to give him that hero. He's so good on him, and I would actually like to see a stat or two on that. I know at the end of their group stage play, Way2 was on something like a 10-game win streak with him. Yeah, there you go. Has a 12 game now. 12 game win streak on that hero. But at one point, but now 1-6. So yeah, getting a good performance out of him on the Visage, certainly a huge part of Liquid's gameplay.
Fnatic also committed a lot of resources to this top lane. They have 2 Observer wards, one right here, and a Sentry ward, and they're still losing out very badly in that department. Experience is about even, just because Bane is really under-leveled. He's still level 1. If he had got that kill, it would be a lot different. But XP, or Gold Graph, only slightly in favor of Liquid 2. Checking out the matchup in mid, looks like Boba is doing okay versus Hani. They're both about the same. And in bottom lane, Koikva actually coming out way behind the Weaver.
Yeah. And Koikva might die here.
Actually. Ooh, wow.
Very close.
Yeah, he needs more help. I don't really think that that matchup is actually that bad for Koikva. Maybe he didn't get pulled regen. I didn't actually see his starting build.
Oh, no, he's actually spent a lot of regen. I've been kind of checking in on him just with the camera. He's already had to run back to base once. He already blew a salve. He basically went from 100 to 10%, blew a salve, and in the span of about 45 seconds went back down to 10%. And yeah, Way2 now going to give him another salve. And come down.
He's a
to
full
help.
level behind Trixie.
Yep.
Which is not good at all. And now Way2's forced to leave the top lane, and now that will give Era time to farm as well as Fly. So Koikva losing this one-on-one situation is actually costing them a lot. It's pretty much making 3 heroes suffer just because he lost the lane. And again, I don't think it's that poor of a matchup. It's not great for Clinks, but at the same time, it's not worthy of a rotation plus a fairy salve from the Visage.
Fly now coming out into lane, And we may see a push coming up very soon. Luna plus Enigma is actually going to be able to shove down a tier 1 very, very quickly. As much problems as Fly has had, he's just level 4, only 2 points into demonic conversion as of right now. But TC leading out in CS, and that's certainly the position he wants to be in. On the other side, though, Fnatic struggling a lot in terms of gold gain for Era. Only 11 CS for him under this high-pressure lane, but as you said, they have had to rotate the Visage out, so that should free up a little bit for them. We see a little bit of movement here in mid as Way2 beginning to bounce around, but looks like he's going to go ahead and head to bottom to pre-rune for Boba.
Yeah, Boba is level 6, so I think they can get a kill on Hani. Hani actually has a DD, so things could get a little bit dicey for them, but he only has 620 HP, and he can't actually pop his bottle to regen because he wants to save that double damage. So looks like Way2 wrapping around. If he gets an axe connect, then he can kill him, but most likely he's just going to wait in tower for the guaranteed axe hit.
And we see the Gale thrown out there, and it looks like Hani sniffs this out. He knows something's up. Playing ultra safe, even throwing out the preemptive Gale to derail that gank attempt. Fluff and stuff has now made his way down as well, and he's actually going to show himself. So DD will be popped, and the rune spawn will be a haste. So Bulba, at the very least, will benefit from having the rune protected for him. Back here at this bottom matchup, 31 CS.
TC on top.
Up at top, TC trying to TP away. And woo, Fly was winding up for Maleficus, unable to get it off though, so he manages to make it away safely.
Yeah, TC, or Quakewood rather, has caught up in CS, but still hurting very badly in terms of regeneration. Not enough mana for Mana Walk, or for Skeleton Walk right now, not enough mana for Death back then. I think he should probably invest in like a Soul Ring or a bottle at this point, just to get past this early game hump for him. He could go in Oblivion staff, but it's too slow, the mana regeneration, when you don't have enough levels, because it's percent based, and Trixie's like waiting almost to kill him.
Hani in trouble here in mid. Got roared down and blown up mighty quick. Yep.
Haste Rune is just so good versus Venomancer.
Oh, yeah. Especially, I mean, Haste Rune on a Beastmaster is so good again. There really isn't a hero that is going to be able to get away from that so long as it's well-timed, especially whenever you have the long-range damage of a Visage and the extended lockdown of Nightmare from Bane, if for whatever reason they do manage to try to turn and make it away. But another good gank, and Liquid continuing to build on this lead. We're at 7.5 minutes in, and we can see the gold about 750 in their favor. That's pretty considerable given there's not a single tower down. I really do think it's great for them that Koikva has managed to hang in there with CS. As much bullying as he's had to suffer, his tower remains in really good shape, and he's actually going to get dove here. And let's see. Trixie, is he going to sell out for it? Nope, not quite. Going to go ahead and time-lapse to safety. Up at top, though.
They're not even going to get a kill with Black Hole. That was a full duration Black Hole. Well, actually, they might get a kill on Boba, but Boba did not need to be there.
Yep. Bulba feeding one back, and Fly, though, going to take some tower shots and throws out the Maleficus now. TC overextending. Will end up dead, but Visages there trying to track down Era, throws out the Grave Chill, salving between auto attacks. Era will end up trading himself for Way2, but that's going to be a win at the very least for Liquid. However, Fnatic making up a lot of ground with two very high priority kills, bringing down TC and Bulba, both 4-3 in that gap narrows.
They could have just ran away with TC, just straight up run back home, and it would have been a simple 0-for-0 exchange while 3 heroes committed to a gank on TC, including Black Hole. So Liquid should have actually come on top of that engagement, but Bulba, he ran in like after all the spells were down and then just got caught out by a stray Lucent Beam. So a little bit of questionable play by him. If they were level 6 on the Luna, that would have gone a lot differently, but as you've noted, Era is struggling in this early game. Number 7 in CS, behind everybody except for the supports.
Taking a look at this skill build for Hani, it's actually an interesting one. He's maxed Gale and Plague Wards. This is very much a push, anti-push skill build, able to melt down creep waves and able to make it very difficult to engage into him. So Fnatic, at least from Venomancer, is going to help. Hang on, No Tail caught by the Nightmare. TC catches a Lucid Beam in the face. TP coming in. There's a Frostbite to buy time. No Tail, though, bursted down. Way2's there. Two-man Gale hit Fluff and Way2 both. The Visage Familiars are out to secure their retreat, but Fluff's probably going to take a... Oh, and there's that stun. And TC comes up, decides to throw out a Void, and they are going to track down the Bane, but Way2 continuing to do good damage. Will die to a Lucid Beam. Bulba roars an already dead target. Little bizarre there. Hani, the much more viable
Fluff
target.
could have also slept himself to deny.
So,
but not too bad for them. At least they kill Arrow. That's the most important thing. As long as they kill Arrow over and over. I mean, Trixie, he's going to be annoying, but he is not going to be as big as a threat as Luna, I think, and Luna is much more liable to feed because she doesn't have any escape mechanisms. And Trixie, he already has time lapse to begin with. Oh, it looks like they may go on Koikva. Koikva kind of caught out again. He has no mana for Skeleton Walk right now, so if they simply just frostbite him, he's dead.
And being chased back. Oh, the windup was there, but he got just out of range. No-Tail eats a couple of tower shots because of that hesitation. I'm a little surprised to see Trixie grabbing the hand of Midas, to be honest. Coming out of 10.5 minutes, not the best timing in the world. He actually got a ring of health up before he decided to pop that out. That's going to create a nice little opening for Liquid. There is a Fiend's Grip on No-Tail, caught out in the jungle, and one Brain Sap afterwards. Not going to be in the coming, though. I guess he was at...
He has Tranquil Boots, so he actually didn't get that popped throughout.
And Trixie now spawning out Fluff will do a bit of damage, but that was, and I think that right there was a good example of, and it looks a little weird at times because of the way Fiend's Grip works. Fiend's Grip has a bit of a wind-up to it, but once the wind-up begins, it doesn't matter how far away you are whenever the spell itself connects. So I think he started to wind up on a moving target. Era taking damage at top. Silenced out, blown up. They're just manhandling Era. They're going to have to send some help as that's now his 4th death early on in the first 11 minutes.
This is really bad for Fnatic because they have like an early mid-centric lineup, and yeah, they have the Midas, which I think is a good idea by Trixie because he needs to compensate for No-Tail just getting dope. They need to compensate for Era's terrible early game, but at the same time, Enigma hasn't taken down any towers yet, and he is just going to get his ult interrupted for the most part, and looks like Liquid will actually be the first to take down a tower. Oh, actually, scratch that. Honey took down mid, but still, Fnatic does not have a tower lead in the early game, which is not what they want with a Venomancer, with an Enigma, and they lost a lot of map control too, and they will lose even more with this. And this T1 tower is more important than the T1 mid for Liquid because Liquid still has a T1 tower on bottom, so they can still defend their jungle relatively easily. Fluff may die out on bottom.
And Trixie looking to dive Fluff. Here comes the TPN though. That'll be way too landing in. Speaking of way too, he's come back to form. There must be just something about our tournament that makes him excel on this hero. 8-2 in the first.
All 8 kills?
Yep.
What in the world?
Way2's a beast is what he is. And Trixie now.
Trixie on bottom. Yeah, they have a sentry behind tower, but still, Hani just may dive them with wards.
See a rotation.
They need to get out of there, like now.
If they're trying to catch someone out in mid, yeah, this is going to be a big dive. And there's the Courier as well. The Courier actually making his way through the trees. Should make it away. Way2 not going to be quite so fortunate. The tower is going to end up dropping. Flies there along with him. We do see Liquid deciding to focus down the tower here in mid. But, thinking about it, the way that they've skilled themselves.
Fly has a mech too, and they're smoking, so they want to get back into this game right now.
Absolutely. And they're going to go ahead and collapse here. They might be able to catch them out of position. Depends on how Liquid decides to retreat. There's the ulti pop by TC.
Oh, they sense the smoke gank. That's a really smart play.
And the tower. Yep, they're going to try to get the familiars. They'll get at least one, and one collapses in. But the game plan for Fnatic beginning to make a bit more sense now, especially given the way things have turned out. I don't know that Trixie's first plan was to go Midas, but they went a push build with Venomancer. Era's obviously struggling, so his item progression going to be very slow. The mech and the early mech and the push potential of Fly, and they're going to try to sneak a Roshan. They're going to try to do this with actually no Eidolons as of right now, anyway. But
they need
yep, here they come.
To do it, I think. Oh, yeah, there they are.
Yep. So they're going to try to sneak this out. This is a nice little trick you can do with a level.
Oh, they're going to send the Hawk in. They're going to know, but it's going to be at less than half HP by the time it gets there.
And this actually works really well with the max Plague Wards, too. But anyway, back to Fnatic's game plan, especially switching it up. They're going to have a lot of push potential out of Veno because of the build and out of Fly as well. And obviously, the Aura for Luna is going to lend itself to that. So getting a Midas on Trixie makes a lot more sense. Push towers, maintain the map control, and just try to extend this game and let that Midas kick in for you.
I think that Liquid should try and extend the game. Now that Fnatic just sneaked the Aegis, they just need to play really cheekily, just backdoor towers if Fnatic tries to 5-man, and just be really annoying around the map and split Fnatic up, because Fnatic's 5-man is a lot stronger. Firstly, they have the mech. Secondly, they have the Black Hole, and then they have the Eclipse too. Liquid, they have a lot of single target damage with Clinks, with Night Stalker, with Bane, with Beastmaster, with Visage. Almost all their heroes are single target damage. I mean, there's some stray damage from like Axe and whatnot, but for the most part, they just excel at ganking, and they may pick off someone over here. Era may die twice in this situation.
Era trying to find some safety and will, as Fluff, Bulba, and Koikva unable to track him down. the movement a little wonky on both sides. We can see, I mean, a real good instincts coming out of the abandonment of that mid push from Liquid, but we saw that big movement attempt of Fnatic down towards bottom. Since then, though, everyone just kind of split up. This mid tower is still in rough shape, 250 HP, but they're unable to really commit to it. And Fnatic's doing a pretty good job of just keeping themselves safe.
Way2's just going to walk into Hani.
And nope. Hani, the Invis rune. Way2's hanging around waiting on the Cavalry.
Good game sense by Way2.
Mm-hmm. And looks like they might take another run at mid here. TC will be getting a BKB as he's picked up the Ogre Club. Bulba with a mech of his own up. Now Hani's right on top of him. There's a Gale that caught TC, and the Poison Nova gets two as well. They're going to TP in and try to punish him. Bulba's caught and will spin the roar before dropping, but will drop nonetheless. Up atop, looks like they're going to try to answer this with a little split push from Koikva and Fluff. Koikva did pick up a Midas, but does have one Oblivion Staff up towards his Orchid as well.
Yeah, they just need to buy time for his Orchid and then secure map control. Liquid does have a Night Stalker, so they shouldn't be this far behind in nighttime, but no, Fnatic is just moving really nicely during the nighttime and just controlling this area. But Liquid could just control the jungle too. They don't need to play aggressively because they have the better late game and they need to wait for Klinx's Orchid before they can start pressuring the map. But they're being a little bit too gung-ho about controlling Fnatic's jungle. And that's not really the right idea, especially when they have, as I said, Fnatic has better ultimates, and they haven't really had good Beastmaster Hawk usage. It's died a lot, and he needs to get that thing skilled up so that it can be invincible.
And taking a look at the skill build, we can see his maxed axes, of course. Going with the balance build, though. Call of the Wild as well as Inner Beast, both being skilled up evenly. TC's going to run out of nighttime before long, and it looks like Fnatic, yep, as soon as day comes, they're ready to go. They're going to push down this top tier 1, and I'd actually be surprised if Liquid contest this.
Yeah, they should just like axe and delay, but they shouldn't really 5-on-5 unless actually they see Trixie on bottom. If they see Trixie on bottom, they can go. So this is actually, I don't know why Fnatic's pushing without Trixie.
Here we go. Here's the Eclipse. Bulba meching his team through it. Way2 and TC both locked down. Fly silence. He's looking for a black hole. Won't be able to find it. Fluff will be able to pop the Aegis there. He actually brain sapped through the damage that would have brought him down. So they get the Aegis, but they are going to continue to hold on to this. Black hole is yet to be spent. And really good usage there of the roar, followed by the silence to make sure Enigma could not drop a black hole. There was a point there where he would have hit at least a 3, if not a 4-man black hole when he came in. And that silence saved them from it, definitely. They're going to continue to push this out, though, as Liquid having to pull back a little bit. The ultimate's still on cooldown from TC. Let's see how committed to it they are. Looks like they're actually going to go ahead and take a breather, falling back past the river.
It's a really important hold for Liquid right there. But I actually don't know if they're going to hold because Klinx just TP bottom, so now it's going to be 4-on-4 at best, and they still have hold.
And at 1-on-1, Trixie time lapses out. Does a lot of damage to Koikva in the meantime, though. And one of the nice things you can do, of course, with Weaver, commit, then go right back in. This tier 1 will end up dropping. It's taken them a little longer than I think they would have liked, but nonetheless, they get the job done. They may try to rush down someone. They may get fluffed. They will. Frostbitten, Lucid Beamed, and that's going to be a free kill. The Gale wasted completely there, completely unnecessary out of Hani, and might end up wanting that. Bulba has his ult back off cooldown. They could continue to push here.
I think they should. They don't have Roar. They don't have Grip. Klinx is still farming away, doesn't have his Orchid, although he could buy it, but he's not in a position to defend. He just uses Death Pact, and Trixie is still pressuring bottom. And Trixie has become a huge nuisance. He almost has his Lincolns. He actually does have his Lincolns. Koikfoot going for a Death Pact, but still he's not going to be up there in time to defend this tower. And Fnatic really applying a lot of early game pressure, and a Liquid's anti-push mechanisms are just terrible.
Here we go.
Boba looking for a Roar from behind.
Hasting in, he's going to roar out Fly once again. They want to bring him down, and the silence will follow it. Never mind, don't even need it. He drops. Hani's the one who eats the silence. Earn charge on him. No tail. Going to be Fiend's Grip while Hani is cut to pieces by TC and Bulba. Way2 makes it a double kill for himself, and TC should be able to track down Hani. He actually blocks himself in, but the Void there to secure another big win for Liquid. So they not only keep the tier 2 up.
Trixie dies on bottom 2 with the recent pick of Orchid.
Oh, so Koikva getting one on the board for himself. But Liquid turning the tables quite handily here in Game 1 as we approach 20 minutes in. And we can see Fnatic had built up to a 7,500 gold lead already. That's cut down roughly in half.
Now the Enigma pick is kind of dead because he they have a mech on him, but almost any support can build up a mech, especially if you just jungle the whole entire time. And they only got one tower due to him, one tower mid was just due to Hani, and then with that failed push, we haven't even seen a whole use yet. And Liquid has 5 heroes that can shut down the whole. Right now, because Quickfoot just picked up his Orchid, and now Weaver too, he should have picked up his Lincolns. It was sitting on his stash. Clinks had his Orchid in stash. He got his Orchid before Weaver got his Lincolns, and now the game has completely changed because Trixie was just pressuring bottom, just feeling invulnerable, and now he has died, and as well as a 4-man push just completely stalwarted by, or stymied by Liquid's just really good ultimate play. They also waited too long too. They had 2 rounds of grips and roars, whereas Fnatic didn't have Eclipse up because that's a really long cooldown, 150 seconds, and Enigma didn't use Black Hole either. So they used what, 4 ultimates compared to 2 on compared to 1 on Fnatic.
And now it's going to be happy hunting time for Koikva. As you mentioned, getting his Orchid up. Trixie doing good damage will force another Skeleton Walk. And this is where Fnatic has to begin to stick together a lot more than they're going to be comfortable doing. Era has gone with the farming build, opening up with the Helm of the Dominator. He has his Ogre Club towards his BKBs, so still quite a ways away before he can feel confident fighting in 5-on-5 engagements. But with so many squishy targets for Koikva to pick on, in particular the Vidimancer, the BKB-less Luna, and the Crystal Main, and hell, even Enigma to a certain extent, he's really going to just be able to pick off anyone if they're ever left alone, and he may just do nothing but roam from this point on and try to maintain map control.
Now Fnatic is the one that's scrambling to defend. They're scrambling to defend their T1 on bottom and their T2 in mid, and they have to be careful not to get picked up by Clinks, and they're trying to save that Ancient stack, which has been scattered out by the Hawk as well as TC. So now Liquid definitely has the upper hand here. Gold lead still in favor of Fnatic, only 2,500 there. Experience lead has jumped in Liquid's favor, but it's really Liquid just has to execute really well. Fnatic, they have to execute like perfectly through this mid game if they want to come out with a big win. And Liquid, they can just play a little bit carefully. They just need to make sure that TC doesn't get caught out too many times, or sorry, Koikva doesn't get caught out too many times. If he dies like once or twice, that's fine, but if he continually dies without anything returned, then that's when Fnatic just takes the next Roshan and gets back in the game. They actually might take the next Roshan right now. It's about to respawn. It just respawned as he placed that ward. Very unfortunate timing for Liquid, and that's definitely going to be a free one because they're in no position to defend, and there's a DD on bottom.
Wei2 picks up his Scepter, and I think you make a great point. Even though Liquid, without a doubt, the big momentum is in favor of Liquid right now. Fnatic, when you look at their net worth and the fact that their gold lead is coming from the 2 heroes they needed to come from, Luna and Weaver predominantly, they're in remarkably good shape. And Fly, actually Fly's picked up a Midas as well, so he's planning to go to the late game. I'm a little surprised he didn't just
this isn't going to be a free Roshan.
There... Yep, they're going to spot it out with the familiars and try to delay it. Yeah, they're going to come challenge this. Fly needs to get in a position real quick. He has to hit a black hole. Nope, never mind. It is going to drop. Luna grabs it. There's the Orchid used on Trixie, but Liquid, knowing they got there just a little tardy to the party, Fnatic going to try to pursue this out.
That wouldn't have happened. So Fnatic got really lucky with the timing of the Roshan spawn and the DD, so they catch a huge break here.
Bulba could be a pickoff here. Here come 3 familiars to help stun them out, though. 1, 2, and 3. That's a 3-man, 3 familiar stun. Axe is thrown out as a parting gift from Liquid, and now Fnatic has to reset. They almost had Bulba dead to rights. In the meantime, Koikva split pushes down the top tower. TC forced to blow a BKB. There's Freezing Field from No-Tail, basically just as a zoning tool. And Fnatic now has to be careful. They know Koikva was busy atop. He should be rejoining with his team soon enough.
This is not the best time to push for Fnatic. They don't really have like a good... There's 2 side lanes aren't pushing, and they don't really have that big of a gold lead right now. Yeah, they have the Aegis, but Scepter just completed it on Visage, and that is really strong. Having a Midas Scepter 24 minutes in on your support Visage, and Fnatic is trying to push up, but it's still very, very difficult to push because their last push just got completely owned. Fly doesn't have BKB yet, so again, all 5 heroes can stop his hole, and unless he hits a big hole, I think this fight isn't going to go too well for Fnatic. But at the same time, Liquid can just play the delay game. They can't just let this tower fall and then wait for a better time to fight.
They're just going to slowly push this down. And doesn't look like Liquid's too concerned. They may charge out after the tower. Nope, here comes No-Tail. There's the roar on the Fly. Fly's going to be the #1 target. Can they get a silence off on him? They're going to be able to mech through it. The tower drops in the meantime. They might decide to engage. Fly still eating damage, but Fluff caught out behind. and Fly actually nightmared.
He's taking the T3 out, though.
And in the meantime, yep, Koikva doing what Klinks does, split pushing, and the tier 3 will be sold out on. Koikva's even going to make it away. In the meantime, the fight continues to rage down here. TC engaged on Hani. Forstaff gets it back to safety. Bulba could be a target, though. Era right behind him, pops Eclipse, just in case he was pursued out. But buyback from Bane. He wants to re-engage. TC, Fluff, and Waytu leading the way. Hani cleaned up with a long-range soul assumption as Fly is able to TP to safety. So, even though Liquid lost their tier 2, they got a lot out of it. They maintained the kill lead, but more importantly, that tier 3 brought down, and Koikva continuing to just build on his gold lead, now leading by about 1,100 gold over his next closest competitor in Weaver.
Fnatic underestimated the push potential of Klinks. He had already taken down the T2 tower, and as I said before, you can't push down the mid lane like that as 5 when Klinks is already over there and your lanes are pushed out. Klinks is with Death Pact is probably the second best pusher, I would say, probably compared to like a Lone Druid of equal net worth. Lone Druid is better, I'd say, and Klinks is a close second. So he can almost push as fast as the 5 from Fnatic. Especially when you consider the delay tactics with Beastmaster, Wild Axes, as well as the Visage Bird constantly stunning them out, and just redirection of the creep aggro, then it's just really difficult for Fnatic to push and actually get something out of it without trading too much of return. I think that TC, he bought a lot of time with him too with that BKB usage and just kind of feigning, or Fnatic like trying to go on him and then Liquid feigning a commitment. They're like, hey, nope, we're not going to wait. We're not going to go in. We're just going to wait for Koikva to get more out of it than you're going to get out of this push. And yeah, they did get the T2 eventually, but not enough.
I'll tell you, who's been shut down completely, and a lot of this comes down to the draft. Fly has been basically ineffectual. They've gotten more out of his Eidolons than they have out of his Black Hole at this point.
Yeah, he has a blink now, so things may change if they don't see it. But, I mean, still, it's just extremely, extremely difficult. I would just say get a BKB and hope you get, hope Aurora is used and hope Bane does die. Bane has died a lot in each of these fights. He has 0, 3, and 4 right now. So has Bulba, 0, 3, and 7. So those two have been pretty high priority targets for Fnatic. And as long as they keep picking them off, Enigma can get a hole off with his BKB, but as you saw last time, they just roared him and then just threw all their spells at him and then backed off once the silence and the stuns were off, and then they just pretty much make him ineffective. He's pretty much just a mech carrier and an Eidolon creator, as you said.
Taking a look at the kill score, Waytu's he's all right. He's 11-4 on his Visage, accounting for 11 of Liquid's 13 kills at this point, which is just comical, really. Well, let me rephrase. It would be comical if we hadn't seen him do the exact same damn thing on their way to a second-place finish in our group stage standings. Looks like we might have another clash, though. And this could be bad for Liquid if they decide to rush uphill. Fly's going to be there, throws out. Oh, he gets a Black Hole off and immediately silenced out of it. Little Trigger happy, and it's going to cost him as he drops immediately. They're grouped up. No Tail cleaned up once again by Waytu. And Era next on the kill list, so that age is gone very quickly. And Trixie's actually going to be nightmared there. They might be able to get on top of him. Brain Sap there to knock him out of it. He's going to go ahead and Shikuchi away. And unfortunately for them, no follow-up damage. But another big win as they trade Visage for Enigma plus Crystal Maiden. And I think that was a little frustration coming out there from Fly. He threw that Black Hole way too soon, and he got punished for it.
Fluff shouldn't have woken Trixie up. He had the Lincolns down, and TC... Oh, wow. Well, Trixie gets cut off anyways, but TC could have just silenced him out of the sleep, and then there would have been an easy kill on Trixie. But Trixie gets a little bit overzealous with the TP, and yeah, as you said, Fly is probably really frustrated that they picked him Enigma at this point. And just from the draft, it was just not a good pick.
Yep. And they picked it into a Beastmaster.
Yeah, they really did.
Hani
gets caught out.
Yep. And this is beginning to feel like a bit like Fly going to be there to throw out. See, that might have been a good chance for a Black Hole, but Era popping the Eclipse a little preemptively. Koikva is going to be able to scatter away. The dust does catch him right on the heel, but don't think they're going to be able to catch him. Skeleton Walk makes him a pretty quick little sprinter as he makes it back to safety. Nope, he will be hit with the Malefice and redusted. He's going to BKB, though, and decides to go ahead and Death Pact a creep with an entire team pursuing him out. Now there's a Skeleton Walk. No Tail, 4 staffs to try to catch him, but going to come up a little bit empty, and the Visage Familiar's there just to frustrate Fly and Era once again.
Yeah, very smart BKB usage. Oh, Quickwa. Looks like he was about to walk right back into death. They already used 2 dust and they don't have any more. So as long as he BKBs off the second dust, then he should be okay. As long as he can survive through Skeleton Walk, but he has pretty good move speed. So, yep, Klink's still okay. And Quickwa 2-0-2. He had a terrible early game, but now he is by far the CS leader. This game is actually still pretty close in terms of gold earned. 0 is the gold difference, and XP slightly in favor of Liquid, but momentum definitely favoring Liquid right now because no BKB on Enigma. He is kind of a dead pick right now, whereas Bane and Visage are extremely, extremely useful still.
And that's kind of where Liquid, they're up, hang on, no tail. Oh, he frostbites a creep. Big mistake there. BKB on TC is going to turn and engage as Aurora on the Era. Trixie's way up front, doing what damage he can. There's a good poison over the caught a few, and freezing fields there. Trixie, however, going to be blown up following the Fiend's Grip. Fluff's going to be brought down as well. No tail ends up dropping, and we see Koikva plus a long-range Soul Assumption drops Era between his tier 2 and tier 3. That's a triple kill for Koikva as he is putting the little Bone Fletcher to work. 20-13.
Wow, that was a nice initiation by Bane on the Weaver, and they have 2 Sentry Wards, whatever, but they killed the Weaver, which is the most important thing. They got a buyback on him, so it's a 4-for-1 trade, and all they lost was a Bane, and they got a T2, and looks like Trixie may die again. He has a gem, but oof, he has to be careful.
Yep, scattering about, and looks like he will be able to scurry to safety. But yeah, this is kind of what I was hinting at before the fight broke out. The problem that Fnatic's going to have, I mean, Enigma's great all throughout the entire game, but you look at how many towers are still standing for Liquid. They still have 2. The tier 2 top and the tier 2 bottom. Granted, they are a little dinged up, but then you look at Fnatic, they've lost just as many. In fact, they're 1 tower behind at this point. And given the builds they went with, given the heroes they have, you want a little bit more push out of Fly and out of the Venomancer, in particular, given the skill builds you used on him. They just really haven't gotten that. And this is that problem you run into with that mid Venomancer pick sometimes. You just kind of feel like you run out of gas on him. And Enigma has been completely shut down, as we've talked about all game. He has just been completely ineffective. Koikva's going to jump right on No Tail and have to skeleton walk away as he realizes there's a couple of people there instead of just the one. But in the end,
that wasn't on either.
Yep. In the end, though, it's really just come down to Liquid outplaying Fnatic so far here in Game 1. The draft, I think, was
They might get the
favor.
third Roshan, though. So Fnatic, the only way they've kept in this game is because of the Roshans. If they didn't get the Roshans, it would have been over like 5 minutes ago. But with the third one, maybe they can stand a chance. Luna doesn't have BKB yet, though, which is a really big problem. Yeah, he has Manta. It'll help him split out of silence, but he can still get roared. He can still get gripped. And those Manta illusions are going to drop relatively fast. But Fnatic setting up for Roshan, and the birds just, the Hawk just expires, so they may grab another free one. But I think that Liquid is definitely strong enough to contest this if they get there as at a reasonable pace. And Roshan at 80% HP, this is exactly the timing that Liquid needed, and we'll use the birds to delay.
Up, Koikva jumps up right on Fly. They're going to mech through that damage. But Koikva, with a double damage rune, is quite the big threat at the moment. He's actually got himself a Blink Dagger as well, and is now hitting for crit damage with a Crystallis in his inventory too. And Liquid trying to zone them out. They do have to be wary of Fly. Fly has been shut down very well throughout this entire game, but that threat is still there. And they're going to go ahead, back out, and look to maybe do some pushing. I was going to say Koikva could just head the top lane at this point, and if they could just delay the
Roshan, though, if he goes, he can't put pressure at the T3 right now. The Roshan's too low; it's at half HP already, so he has to just death back the creep and come immediately back. If the wave were at the racks, yeah, he could do it, but it's too far out right now.
Fnatic continuing to dance around. Koikva has rejoined, and the ulti going to be popped by TC. There's a smoke from Fnatic, so a little trickeration on the way. We even see it drawn out kindly for us as Liquid. No, that's actually Liquid expecting it. That's actually Fluff who just drew that out as they smoked. They're just going to walk right out. There's a Gale that hits 2. Poison Nova caught a couple. There's the roar onto Era. And Fly once again silenced out. Link is going to be popped, but he will be able to retreat and survive a little bit longer. In the meantime, they do lose Era, and they've just got to turn tail. No tail. Eating damage from behind. Fly once again. Fly has thrown a grand total of 2 black holes. One was a full channel that didn't even secure a kill. The second was that frustration black hole we saw up near the dire side jungle. He just has never had an opportunity.
Yep, Liquid looking in really fine form. 22-13 is a kill. Cheese will go to nobody yet. Looks like Fluff may pick it up. Yeah, and now with his third Roshan, Fnatic stands no chance at defending their base, and Gold Graph has finally swung in Liquid's favor, and the T3 or the Rax is exposed on top, so they can just pressure mid while Koikva pushes top. Hani might actually get caught out here.
And Koikba
looks like he's dead.
jumping right on him. There's a Fly got caught with the roar.
GG.
Yep, that's it. And
they can't defend versus at all.
I think anyone who felt like Liquid had fallen off from where they were is getting a lesson as to why that might have been a mistaken impression. Again, they come into this match on a skid, but hold on. No tail engaged on 4 staffs of safety. TC pretty low and might have his Aegis pop. Nope, not quite. Way 2. Left behind, there's the Eidolons, and he will be nightmared. Eclipse damage, though, a bit too much for him to tank through. So even though we feel like it's over, Fnatic certainly doesn't agree, as they're able to chase Liquid off of the doorstep of their Tier 3 mid and at least extend the game a little bit longer.
It's ridiculous how mana intensive Klinks is. He's like constantly been sitting at low mana, and not getting an Orchid or a Soul Ring pickup on him, or even selling your Orchid in a late game is just really difficult to cope with. You can like turn your Orchid into a Scotty, but as it stands right now, Liquid in full control of the game right now. Boba even has a Blink, a Scepter, and a mech. They're just really farming all their heroes. Like Bane has a ton of survivability with a casual Vid Booster as well as a casual Cloak, and Night Stalker has a BKB and Heaven's Halberd, so they're very unlikely to die. Unless Fly hits a big black hole. And does he have his BKB? He's not even going for a BKB, it looks like. And yeah, he tried to blink and hole in the Roshan engagement, but he was really slow about it. And Klinks, he hesitated, which is the thing, which is like, well, did I get the right heroes? Am I going to get the right heroes? Is it going to be another 0.1 second hole? And he hesitated for too long. Koikwa just orchided him, and the fight was immediately lost from there. So he kind of just has to roll with it. If it's like a 1.5 second black hole, I think that's enough. If it's a 1 second black hole, that's better than what's happened before. Right. It's better than no black hole, because they don't really like. They have to like make sure they don't like walk up the choke over here. But aside from really bad positioning errors like that from Liquid, they're smart enough and their positioning is good enough to not get caught by a black hole. So Fly just has to roll with it and hope that they can pick someone off with like a freezing field eclipse burst, and maybe they can burst someone down before their BKB. But it's not going to be Klinks, because if Klinks has his death packed up, he's at 2200 HP. It's not going to be Night Stalker because he has 2000 HP with evasion.
Oh, God. Koikva's just two-shotted. Two-shotted. Crystal Maiden with the crit. He completed his Daedalus just moments ago. And Hani going to face a similar fate as he's tracked down. Koikva, no joke. Two-shotted that Crystal Maiden. But
that's ugly.
They're going to call it on the back of that. The chat trivia question, by the way, for those who might have missed it, was which 3 heroes have built mechanism 90 times or more in 6.79? I'm going. Why don't you go ahead and venture a guess, Merlin? Who do you
I would say Darkseer, but Darkseer is not popular enough.
Yep. That's how I feel about Enigma, too.
That's actually a really tough question.
Yeah, deceptively tough. I'm going to say Chen. Chen's 1.
Okay, Chen. Yeah. How many?
He jumped
is
this.
That 2 heroes?
Yeah, he jumped
Chen
this. At least I got 1 out. Wow, Windrunner. That's a little surprising. Visage is one that should have been obvious. But anyway, game 1 behind us, and Team Liquid comes out all guns a-blazing as they get past Fnatic sub 40 minutes. And really, again, this is one of those matches where Liquid just, the drafts were relatively even. I mean, Fnatic certainly had a game plan coming in, and they looked like they were poised to execute it as they were pushing down towers. But I really do feel like Liquid, for lack of a better way to put it, just outplayed them here in game 1. Not to say that's going to be the case moving ahead. But looking ahead to game 2, what adjustments, if any, do you think need to be made by Fnatic here, Merlin?
They need a better draft, firstly. Having a Weaver as your carry is okay, but having a Luna in a duo lane with Enigma support is not what you can run versus Liquid, especially when they get an early Visage pick. So firstly, they need to ban the Visage, or they need to have a straight up better tri lane. So I think that was the first mistake that they did. Second mistake was picking the Enigma. That was just a really big mistake from their part. Aside from that, their play was pretty decent. I also think Hani needs a playmaker mid. He's more the playmaker for the team with the Storm Spirit, with the Invoker, with the Bat Rider too, and giving him a passive hero like Venomancer or Alchemist, I think, is not utilizing the strengths of the player. So I think just drafting Luna not good versus Visage tri-lane, Enigma not good versus all the anti-BKB ultimates, as well as everyone having to disable, and Venomancer just not good for Hani. So I don't really think that the Klinks, giving them Klink's second pick was a big mistake at all. Just their other picks were not terribly great.
I think you make a good point about Hani, and We actually haven't seen him play a lot of Invoker coming down through the bubble race. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we saw Fnatic go to that comfort zone coming up here in game number 2. They got to make an adjustment because they certainly don't want a repeat of game 1. 27-14, the final kill score, 36 minutes, 59 seconds. All the time it took for Liquid to take a 1-0 advantage here in this best-of-5 grand finals of our Western Division. I'm your host there in AC Chambers, joined as always by Merlini and the Has Living his skills as our stats man. Want to welcome you guys in once again and remind you that this is our final regular season match of D2L Season 4. Winner of this best of 5 will be heading to Vegas to join LGD China, Vici Gaming, and Alliance as our 4 grand final competitors coming up in week 1 of January. That'll be at Caesars Palace at CES. So make sure you check out d2l.gg for all of the information to catch any matches you might miss to this point. Looking ahead, game 2 on the way. Fnatic going to look to turn the bagel into a breadstick, but Liquid thinking sweep. We'll find out which team's up to the task next. Stick with us. We'll be right back here on the HyperX D2L.